A woman was telling me about her work schedule and how she would wake up at 3:30 in the morning to get ready for work. So of course I asked her, my first question was, what time do you start work? And she actually starts work at 5 in the morning because she works for a company that's based on the East Coast, and they begin their workday at 8 a.m. So here she is living in California and having to work East Coast hours because of the company that she works for. And of course, this is a remote job. So her day begins at 3:30 in the morning, where she has an hour and a half to get ready for starting work at 5 a.m. California time. So she's waking up every morning at 3:30 in the morning, which means when I asked her about her bedtime, she was getting ready for bed closer to 8 o'clock in the evening. So this is an extreme schedule. We're talking about somebody who has to wake up super early in the morning and go to bed very early at night. Now, if we were looking at her circadian rhythm, so if we're looking at her background circadian hormones, it would be very interesting because what we would probably see is that we have a nighttime dip in our body temperature. So each night that you sleep, your body is going to drop to its lowest temperature close to when you're sleeping your deepest. Now, we might think our deep sleep happens somewhere around midnight, but actually, your deepest sleep occurs 2 hours before you normally are going to wake up. So if you're a 7 a.m. riser, your deepest sleep is going to be close to about 5 a.m. or 4 a.m. So your deepest sleep has a certain frequency to it. So we would call it delta wave sleep. So doctors and researchers can look at the brain waves coming off of the brain, and it's got a specific pattern that's very slow and rhythmic. And so they call this delta because they know you're in your deepest, most restorative sleep. And that sleep is really important for your body to begin repairing itself from all of the day's activities. So think about the body as kind of really putting a lot of stress on itself during the day, having to use up a lot of your resources. And then at night, during that deep delta wave sleep for the last 2 hours, this is like the last push of a marathon where it's just going into deep restoration for you to face the next day. So her deep sleep is probably occurring at a completely different time than the rest of the people working on normal Pacific Standard Time hours. And then what also happens during your deep sleep schedule is that you are also going to have your lowest body temperature. So there's something about kind of the high melatonin levels, that sleep hormone, the body temperature dropping, and then your brain waves kind of falling into a rhythm where your body is just super interconnected with all of these things. High melatonin level, really cool body, very deep sleep. You can think of it as a triad of events that gets you into this super restorative phase 2 hours before your normal waking time. This is why when you have to go to the airport, or when you have to run an errand, maybe pick someone up from the airport, or perhaps there's an appointment you need to get to, and you're having to wake up at a time earlier than when you normally wake up, then what happens is, of course, that triad of coolest body temperature, deepest sleep, highest melatonin, that doesn't sandwich at the same time. It doesn't synchronize. They're all uncoupled. So you might wake up in the morning feeling groggy, tired, not fully well restored. So that is kind of like the keystone to having high quality sleep, is when all three of those values or those peaks all sort of intersect at the same time in the very early morning hours of your sleep schedule. So for this woman, she likely had a little bit of uncoupling because the natural tendency of the body is not to kind of hit all those three things at 1 a.m. It's more ready to hit it closer to 3 a.m. when she's getting herself up. But she compensates for this by going to bed as early as she can and trying to get as many hours of sleep as she can. Whereas some people who are working night shifts, if they don't give themselves that extra buffer of trying to compensate, of getting more sleep on the front end then they could be losing that restorative time, that time that the body needs to really help support all of the damage that has happened during the day. So that's something really unique to know about your personal sleep schedule, and trying to get all the triad of factors of sleep hormone, sleep temperature, and delta wave sleep right into the right niche of time. Thanks for joining me, and you guys take care.